to come over here and address the students.
मैं शायद बहुत दिन से कुछ गलतफहमी में था कि मैं बहुत जवान हूँ, लेकिन आज डॉक्टर सैयद साबिर साहब ने मेरे साथ साहब मुझे बैठा कर मेरे बुढ़ापे का ऐलान ही नहीं कर दिया, बल्कि उसको उम्र में लगा दिया। मुर्शिद अली सिद्दीकी साहब कहा करते थे कि अगर किसी के बुढ़ापे का ऐलान करना हो तो उसको तकरीर करने के लिए कहा जाए, और आज डॉक्टर साहब ने मुझे तो बहुत कुछ करने को कह दिया। बहरहाल सैयद साबिर साहब मेरे उस्ताद मोहतरम भी हैं, इज वन ऑफ माय beloved teacher, so I cannot basically reject his order. So he asked me to come to this function. First of all, it's a pleasure for me and it's an honor for me to be part of this evening. I would like to basically acknowledge and appreciate the time given by Professor Amar Jahan Zubairi Madam, Professor Razabla Sahab, Dr. Sir Sabir Sahab, Mustafa Ashmi Bhai, and Dr. Anis Sahab and other respected teachers and my dear friends. There are two things which I would like to say this evening. First of all, again, I'm not a very good orator, so my talk will be purely kind of engineering approach. So I'll just say two things to my younger generation. I would like to congratulate the recipients of the award who has taught us in different faculties. And I would also like to appreciate the efforts of Dr. Suhail Sabir and Dr. Hassan Pai Sahab, who has taken this initiative to start this process. But my focus will be the rest of the people who have not received anything this evening. Do not get depressed or don't think that you don't have a talent. As Dr. Ali Sahab and other respected speakers told you that everybody has some kind of talent. I was never a topper, at least in this university. I was always like a jungle student and marching the man was in the crowd. So everybody, as I said, like everybody has some kind of talent, and the only thing which you have to do is to find out your talent. And that's basically job of your teacher as well as yourself, and most of the time you have to find your talent. Nobody is going to tell you that what kind of talent you have. So you have to find your talent and then excel into that. It is not necessary that you will be topping the faculty or you maybe you can become an officer, but whatever talent you have, try to excel into that. And inshallah, I can assure you that will take you to the extreme heights. A simple example I will give is Steve Jobs. For the last 35 years, he died just last week, and I was really shocked to read the news of a sudden demise of Steve Jobs. He was suffering from cancer for the last few years, but every man there, he was coming back to the industry and he was again disappearing because of his disease. But for the last 35 years, he was working hard to make Macintosh, Apple computers as a household name. But he was unable to do that. And even being as an engineer, I thought like Apple computer is only for the very, very technical person. But the discovery of the iPod, discovery of the iPhone, discovery of the iPad make the Apple as a household name. Now people know more than Microsoft as Apple products because we use iPod, we use iPhone, we use iPad. So now the Apple became basically a household name. And how old was Steve Jobs when he died? At the age of 56 years he died. So don't think that to become great or to do something great, you have to be like 70, 80 years old, then only you can do something great. No. Age is never a limit. Age was never a bar to excel in your career. I'll give a simple example. We have seen so many pictures here around, hanging here. And one of the best examples is Saraf Masood, the grandson of Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan. Can someone guess at what age he was offered the principalship of this college? Any idea? He was offered a principalship of this college at the age of 29 years. When he was 29, he was offered the principalship of Emmanuel College in 1980. He rejected that offer somehow, for some reason. I'm not going to get into the details why he rejected. But again, just after 10 years, in 1929, he was again offered the vice chancellorship of this university at the age of 39. Can you imagine that he became the vice chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University at the age of 39? And what he did before 39, that's amazing. He was the educational commissioner of the state of Hyderabad. Before that, he was professor at Odisha. And he was already a recipient of the knighthood sir title at the age of 39. And he died at the age of 47. So his entire life was like 47 years old. But still he achieved so many things. And in my humble opinion, I'm not expert on the illegal or illegal movement. I'm just a simple student of illegal movement. But in my humble opinion, he's one of the finest and best vice chancellor of illegal university till date. Because what he has done in 6 years of his vice chancellorship, nobody could have done in 10 or 12 or 13 years. Even a lot of people, a lot of experts say Dr. Zakir Hussain did a lot of things. Of course, he did a lot of things. But compared to Sir Rasmussen, in my opinion, he's not even close to Sir Rasmussen. He brought all the best academicians across the globe. Sir Andrew Beale, Sir Professor Babar Mirza, they were all invited to Aligarh on the invitation of Sir Rasmussen. So he was leading in. So don't think that you have to be like old or you have to be 60, 70 years old to achieve something or to do something. Even Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, as Madam said, basically, Aligarh was always a center of excellence. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, when he wrote Asar Sanadi, how old he was? He was 35 years old. He was not a 70 years old respected person, he was 35 years old. Even before 1957, he already wrote Asar Sanadi. And that was one of the very respected books. And even when he wrote Asbab Bagawat in 1857, he was just 40 years old. So it's not that we always think about Sir that he has a long beard, grey hair, and everything is white, so he's like a 75 years old person. No. He was not born as an old person. He was young, he was a boy, then again became young and then grew up an older person. So his entire life was a mission. He did not wait for 70 years to get retired from his job and then start the community service. No. From the very beginning of his career, he started thinking about the community. And same thing I would say about the Muslim movement. And I would really basically appreciate that you are fortunate enough to be a part of the Muslim movement Hall, who was one of the strongest and staunch supporters of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan in all part of his mission. There were only few people on whom Sir Syed blindly trusted. And this Muslim movement was one of them, that Sir Syed can count on him at any point of time. So that was greatness of Muslim movement. And again I will say, at the age of 27 years, Muslim became the member of Scientific Society started by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. He was not a 30-70-year-old or 60-year-old, 50-year-old person. He was 27-year-old. And he became Sir Syed, appointed him as a member of the Scientific Society. So never think that you have to be old to do something. You can do at whatever age you are comfortable with, at whatever age you are. And as one of my teachers and one of my famous poet, Zubair Rizvi have always said that whatever you can do in your youth, hardly 20% of that you can do in your old age. So you have basically at this age you have a lot of passion, you have a lot of energy, and then you can do a lot. So as I was saying in the beginning, you have to find your talent. Whatever talent you have, it doesn't matter basically whether you are a faculty topper or you are not a topper, you cannot become like let's say Sachin Tendulkar. If I say that kind of passion Sachin Tendulkar has for cricket, if that passion is distributed among the entire cricket world, still some passion will be left with Sachin Tendulkar. That's why he is one of the greatest players of all time, because of his passion. Not because of his talent, because of his passion. So you have to find your passion, whatever is. I will not say what is that. But if let's say you have some skills in some paintings. If you like painting, you like paintings. Try to put your passion into that. Try to create that. And when you start putting your passion into that, and slowly it will come out. And when Hussain does not become a famous painter just in one day or 1 week, of course it takes years to generate that kind of fame. So whatever talent you have in sport, in painting, in literature, in poetry, whatever poetry you have, one of our own very recently, Professor Shahriyar received basically Jnanpith Award. Even a few years back we were talking with Shahriyar so talented, but somehow the world is not recognizing him. Even he did not receive Padma Shri, even he did not receive the Padma Bhushan. But very recently, a few months back, he received the highest literary award of this country in all languages. So that was one of the biggest achievements of Aligarh in the modern time. In total, there were only 4 recipients of Jnanpith in Urdu, and 3 of them are from Aligarh. So we feel proud of that. Shahriyar Sahab said that because he has talent. Of course, he was persistent into that, and he was producing great poetry. And then that's why finally he was recognized by the government of India and by the literary world from the entire country. and he received basically the Gambit Award. You take any example. Nobody can become great in one day. So you have to find your talent, work for that. And I always say that basically work for that. Just only having talent will not take you anywhere. There are so many talented people, they raise their talent and they disappear from the map. But if you have a talent, you pursue for that and you follow your dream. And then definitely that passion, that perseverance takes you to some place which you have never imagined. So my simple thought to you will be, whatever passion you have, whatever talent you have, try to take it to the extreme level so that you can excel into your field and you can achieve whatever your parents, your teachers want. And I feel honored that my beloved teacher, Dr. Suhail Sabri is here. And I really, it's not basically he's here, that's why I'm saying that. I always say in front of him, and even in his absence, that he's one of the finest teachers I ever had. And I feel proud of that. And there are two people whose debt you can never clear. Of course, one of them is your parents, and second are your teachers. These students, at least I can never clear, and I'm honestly thankful that no one can clear their debt in their entire life. Even if they serve for their entire life to their parents and teachers, you cannot clear your debt. So you have to basically respect your parents and respect your teachers, because that's the two people. They help you selflessly. And I mean selflessly means selflessly. It's not like just by words, they do selflessly. Do you think this your teacher is working hard for it, teaching in the class 1 hour, even to deliver a 1 hour lecture, they have to basically spend 3-4 hours if you want to do justice. If you do, even I've taken classes in different courses, even in US, even in India, and I know to take a class of 1 hour, you have to work for at least 4 hours. Even you have to anticipate the questions from the students. When you start basically preparing some presentation, even in my company, if I start preparing some presentation that I have to give a talk on this topic, I have to not only prepare the presentation, but at the same time you have to prepare basically anticipate the question from the customer. Because you don't know what kind of question they can ask. So you have there, basically the teachers are putting a lot of effort, so you need to recognize and you need to appreciate their efforts in delivering whatever the best they have into that. And this is one of the great opportunities that Suhail Sabri is here, and he's basically started this kind of series with the help of course, the Legal Alumni Association of California and Dr. Hassan Tahir, who is basically sponsoring this event. And I have the pleasure to meet Hassan Tahir Sahab on several occasions in California. And next week again, I'll be there to attend the Associate Day on 15th of October. I was basically unfortunate enough to leave the legal on 14th because I had to basically attend the Associate Day in California, and we have basically have the fundraiser for Legal Education Endowment Fund. As Suhail mentioned in the beginning, that we are working on 2 projects. So one is my primary project is a Legal Education Endowment Fund. We are trying to create a fund to help the students across the country. Of course, legal is one of the primary focus, but we are also focusing outside the legal to help the community and the downtrodden, those underprivileged students, to basically get the financial support so that they can continue their education, so that they can at least achieve their dream, whatever their dreams are. So, and I'd like to request all the students, if you have enough time, go to AEF.net, AEF.net, that's a website for legal movement, Legal Education Endowment Fund. You have all the details. We have scholarship programs, we have basically mentorship programs to support via Legal Education Endowment Fund. Not only legal, if you have somebody known to you who's genuine, who's basically underprivileged and who's not getting support from anywhere, and you think that he's a deserving candidate, please feel free to refer it to us. You can talk to Dr. Suhail Sabri. He's our local basically responsible person. He's responsible for a lot of things, but we are privileged to have Suhail with us, and he's taking care of educational endowment fund activities in legal also. Even in the near future, we are planning to have basically a complete team and complete office there in Aligarh to basically spread the activities of the endowment fund across India. But right now, we don't have that kind of infrastructure, so we are relying on our basically personal contact basis. So Dr. Suhail Sabri is one of them. My second thing, which I would like to talk to my younger generation here. As I said, Professor Anuja Zubairi mentioned about the Begum Sultan Jahan, and you already have a hostel named after Asrarullah Majaz, Allama Shibli Nomani, Maulana Muhammad Jawhar, and Altaf Said Ali, and of course, Amin Saab. Do you ever get a chance to know about these people? The basic difference between Aligarh and different institutions is that, for example, IIT. Of course, IIT is one of the finest institute of the country. I will not deny that IIT is not one of the finest institute, especially for engineering, but that by government, started by government and funded by government. But Aligarh was never started by government. Aligarh was started by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and till 1947, it was a community-supported institution. So all those names you hear, either Allama Shibli Nomani or Amin Sahab or Maulana Muhammad Ali Jawhar, Maulana Shaukat Ali or whatsoever name you hear about, these are the people who were supporting this institution to run to day-to-day affairs. For their, basically the salary of the staff was generated by the community. It was never a government-funded institution. And not only that, in basically after the death of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, when the people, especially Muslim Mulk, Bukharul Mulk, Sahibzada Aftab Ahmad Khan, all these people, they started working for the Aligarh Muslim University to translate MO College into Aligarh Muslim University. British government put a condition to transform MO College into a Muslim University that you need to have an endowment fund of 40 lakh rupees. And you will not believe that at that point of time, these people, Sahibzada Aftab Ahmad Khan, Saraga Khan, Muslim Mulk, Bukharul Mulk, everybody, they worked very hard and they went door to door to Nizam of Hyderabad, to Begum Sultan Jahan, to basically Haji Ismail Khan of the Tawli and all these people. They were basically given money and they generated 40 lakh rupees, and finally when they had that money, then only British government translated the MO College into university, and in 1920, on 19th of December, under the charter of the British government, MO College became Aligarh Muslim University, and as Madam said, basically the Begum Sultan Jahan became the first chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University, and that's really a history that none of the university at that time had a lady chancellor in entire world. People say basically Muslims are very introvert and Muslims are orthodox, but at that time itself Muslim leadership showed to the world that no, we are not introverts, we are not orthodox, we are forward. Muslims, Islam is the farthest religion, and this, we are the most forward people. We made Sultan Jahan as a chancellor, and it's not that Sultan Jahan, if you say that Sultan Jahan was not following Islam. In my humble opinion, what I have read about Begum Sultan Jahan, if you get a chance, visit my website, aligarhmovement.com, and go to Karwan Aligarh. There's a complete article on Begum Sultan Jahan, and you will see basically tens of photographs. You will never find a picture of Begum Sultan Jahan with open face when she was young. The only face is open when her face is open when she was child or she was 60 years old. So at the time when the parda was supposed to be driven, she never opened her face. Not only in India, when she was in Bhopal receiving the Prince of England, there is a picture from I received that picture from the archives of Times. She had covered the face and escorting the Prince of Britain and showing the palace. When she visited London to attend the coronation ceremony, she was in full hijab. She was basically Hafiz Quran. She was always quoting a hadith in her speeches. And not only that, her three sons, now one of the sons was later became Chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University, now Hamidullah, he was himself Hafiz Quran. So three of her sons, they were Hafiz Quran also. So basically even she taught to her children also. It's not that she was not paying attention to her family. She was paying attention to her family because she was following the religion. At the same time, she was also concerned about the community. And one of the fine example I will give about Begum Sultan Jahan. And really, maybe I'm taking too much time for you, but I just want to let you know that what kind of people were associated with Aligarh. Begum Sultan Jahan, basically you see the picture, her picture here, she was the chancellor, and you have a hostel named Allama Shibli Nomani Hostel. In late 1900, when Allama Shibli Nomani announced the project of Siratul Nabi, he wanted to do research of Siratul Nabi and wanted to write a book, a detailed research-oriented book of Siratul Nabi. Of course, he was just a professor, and he was in Nadwa. So he wanted to write the Siratul Nabi. He didn't have money. So he wrote letter to all the newspapers as well as to all the Rausa of different basically states, even Bhopal, Nizam of Hyderabad, and the Tawali, and all these rich people that I need money to do research, to write a book on Siratul Nabi, a detailed research book on Siratul Nabi. Begum Sultan Jahan was the first respondent, and she immediately responded to Allama Shibli Nomani that your project is 100% funded and you start the work from tomorrow. You don't have to wait for money. You don't have to wait for anything. Just start your project. Whatever amount is needed, state of Bhopal will fully fund that project. So she was the visionary and she immediately realized the need of Siratul Nabi and she funded. Not only that, after a few years, of course, Shibli started the work and he was doing the work. But as you all know, that he had a lot of health issues. So when he became sick in almost 1913 and 14, beginning of 14, when he became very sick, Begum immediately called Shibli to Bhopal. She said, okay, I want to have a talk with you and even I want to show you to my team also, my doctors also, so that we can take care of your health issues. She showed to the doctors and the first question she asked after talking about his health, she immediately asked, do you have any backup plan of the Siratul Nabi project? She was so visionary that after just talking about his health, she asked, do you have a backup plan for the Siratul Nabi project? And Allama Shibli Nomani immediately responded that, yeah, if I'm unable to do that, two of my students, Maulana Sayyid Sulaiman Nadwi or Hamiduddin Farahi, any one of them or in combination, two of them, they will finish this project, so do not worry about that. Begum was relieved and she was very happy that at least Allama Shibli Nomani has a backup plan. So that kind of vision, the lady had that kind of vision. But unfortunately, these students at Aligarh Muslim University, we hardly know about our elders. So it's basically a very unfortunate incident that we hardly know. Even I was part of that thing. Even I didn't do when I was in Aligarh. Even when I left Aligarh, I didn't know much about Begum Sultan Jahan. But Alhamdulillah, I got some time and then I started reading about Begum Sultan Jahan, her life, her contribution. Then I wrote a very small article on my website, aligarhmovement.com, that what Begum was. And I was just talking to Zawla Khan Sahab that I was planning to write about the Nawab Muzammilullah Khan also, and he promised me to basically provide all the help what he can do. So I will recommend basically, apart from your studies, always have the attitude to do something back for the community, whatever you can. I will not recommend basically you should do this thing or this thing or this thing. Whatever you feel comfortable. Whatever you feel comfortable, either you want to help basically the poor student to support education, that's fine. If you want to basically feed poor people, those who are hungry, that's fine, do that. If you find poor people who are basically don't have the clothes to wear, try to get that. Whatever you feel comfortable, try to give back something to the community. That was the basic objective of Aligarh movement, and that's why Aligarh was created because of the community service. All the people, especially Maulana Muhammad Ali Jawhar, Maulana Shaukat Ali, Ashadat, Aftab Sayyid Khan, they were all settled people. But just the community concern, bring them together in Aligarh, and they started this college. They made this college to Aligarh Muslim University, and even they work for this university to the rest of their life. So that was basically their contribution to the community. So my words will be to you that whatever you are, basically in whatever class you are, of course try to follow your dream and try to follow your education, but at the same time, try to find out some time, as Madam said, whatever time you can afford, either 1 hour, half hour, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, try to do something apart from your academic activities, just to give back to the community, because community needs you, and basically community is depending on you because you are the cream of the community. Thank you. So as I said, basically community needs you, community needs your support, and you are the younger generation. Yeah, of course, as I said, basically I'm already getting older, and I'm old because you asked me to speak here, and now you are my passion and motivation that if I can be of any help, if you want any kind of help from my side, I will always be there. I will give my contact information. You already have my contact information. If you go to my website, aligarhmovement.com, you'll find my contact information, as well as Dr. Suhail Sabir has my contact information. At any point of time in your life, not only at education, even after leaving Aligarh, if you think that Afzal Usmani can be of any help, feel free to write to me. I will do whatever I can. Of course, I cannot promise that I will do everything, whatever you ask me to do, but I will promise that I will do whatever I can to the best of my abilities, to the best of my potential. With these words, I'd like to again say thank you to Dr. Suhail Sabir Saab and to the rest member of the Adil Hall for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Afzal Usmani Sahab, for your inspiring words. And you are listening to a young, dynamic and energetic person